on this episode of the Engaging Marketeer, I want to talk about presentation and public speaking, in effect, because it's something I do a lot of. Obviously, I have a podcast, as you probably know, you're listening to it, but I also do a lot of talks from a stage. I do a lot of presentations. I basically go and flap my gums wherever somebody will listen. And I also see a lot of other people giving presentations, a lot of other people giving talks, particularly at networking events and seminars around the Northwest. So I wanted to share a couple of tips that I've picked up over the years to help do better presentations that I think you would probably like to know. And it's not just so much about making better presentations or being a better public speaker. It's more about selling, about getting people to know, like, and trust you, and get them to take action the action that you want them to take. So, for example, if you're at a networking event and you're talking about the services and the products that you offer, you sell, that the people who are listening there are actually listening to you, and they understand what you do, they believe in what you do, and they take action in what you do. And you're not just doing what, quite frankly, the vast majority of people do when they go to these events, and they just talk at someone and nobody listens, nobody takes action, and they don't get any business. I don't know if you've been to many networking events yourself, but most networking events will not generate any referrals, any revenue, any sales for you. All that will happen is you will go, you will meet a lot of people, you will have some coffee that will range from absolutely undrinkable tar to passable. It never really gets any better than that. You will have some food that will range from inedible to, oh, it's all right, but I don't think I want to eat any more of it. And you will basically have some chats, some socializing. So it's important that you take these opportunities to make the best impression, to essentially sell yourself, your brand, your service. So a couple of tips on presentations, on public speaking. Now, the first one is mostly relevant to men, to be fair. Ladies don't tend to do this, and that's what you do with your hands when you're speaking. So if you stand up to make a presentation, you stand up to make a talk, and in most networking events, it's going to be a 60-second talk. You'll have been at these events yourself, that everybody takes it in turns to stand up, they talk for 60 seconds, and then they sit down again. And they tend to be either in long tables going around the room or in sort of round tables dotted about the room. And what some men tend to do is they will stand up, and as soon as they stand up, their hands will make a beeline directly for their pockets. And it's not intentional, it's not something that you're really aware that you're doing, but when you put your hands in your pockets and you have change and keys in your pocket, you tend to rummage them. You tend to root around. It's involuntary. Again, it's not something most people are aware they're doing. But when you're doing that and you've got somebody sat next to you whose head is, quite frankly, at groin height with you, all they can hear is the jangling of your change in your pocket right next to their head. So if you are a hand pocket dweller, when you give talks such as this, and it's something that you're unable to control, and I totally get it if you are, before you go to make any talk, before the presentation start, if you like, take anything out of your pocket and put it on the table in front of you. So that when your hands make a beeline for your pocket, then it's okay. It's not going to interfere with what other people can hear, because you'll just be rummaging around with, I was going to say, nothing or whatever your hands can reach in your pocket. I'll stop there. But that's the first tip, but that is mainly for men. Now, another one when you're doing a talk such as this, and many people who haven't done any kind of public speaking before make this mistake, is that they will talk as though they are having a one-to-one conversation with somebody, often the person sat next to them, and their voice as they speak will start to get quieter and quieter until they're talking at a very low level, so only the person next to them can hear. Yet if there's somebody sat at the other end of the room They can't hear a word you're saying. You need to make a point of noticing who is the furthest person away from you. Where are they? Engage with them. Speak to them, not to the person next to you. Because if you're talking to the person next to you, the person at the other end of the room, quite frankly, can't hear a single word you're saying. And if they can't hear you, they're not going to be able to do anything that you want them to do. If you're asking for an introduction to somebody, if you're asking somebody to like your Facebook page, whatever it is you want people to do, if they can't hear you, they're not going to be able to do it. Now, also, when you're doing a talk such as this in a room where there are maybe 15, 20, 30, possibly even 40 people, you want to make sure those people are paying attention to you. Therefore, eye contact is important. You need to look at each one of those people in the eyes, which for some people is really awkward to do, really uncomfortable, but make eye contact with them. Not for a long period. You're not trying to propose to them. You're not trying to stare them out. You're not trying to get them to do a court injunction to keep you away from them. Just enough so that they know you've seen them. They've seen you've seen them. They know that you want them to pay attention. And then move on to the next person. But spread it about throughout the whole room. Don't miss people out, because if you miss people out, they'll feel that you're not talking to them. You're ignoring them. You're alienating them. And of course, you can't make eye contact with people if you are delivering your talk, which you are reading out off a piece of paper or a phone. Now, this is perhaps the most difficult thing for people. Reading something out is the only way they can remember it. Now, as I'm delivering this podcast now, you won't know it if you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify, but if you're watching it on YouTube, you'll know I am not reading anything. I have nothing in my hands, I have nothing in front of me. I am just going through this as I remember it. Now, I will probably miss stuff out. I will probably forget things, but you won't know that because I am the only one who knows what I'm about to say. And that's the same with your business. If you are at a networking event where you are speaking in front of people, you don't need to write down what you're going to read out for fear of forgetting a detail, because nobody is going to know you've forgotten something. They don't know your business. They don't know your industry. They don't know what you were going to say. Only you do. So if you leave something out, it doesn't matter. But if you just read it out from a piece of paper or a phone or an iPad, focusing solely on the phone, paper or iPad, then you are not engaging with anybody in the room. You are not making eye contact with anybody in the room. You are simply robotically parroting what is written in front of you. And that is not going to work. That is not going to have the impact that you want. That is not going to be able to make a connection to those people so that they buy from you, so that they trust you, so that they refer you, so that they like you. Don't read it out. Please. Some of you will think, no, I can't possibly do this. I have to read it out or my mind will go completely blank. If your mind goes completely blank, you shouldn't be in business. It's your business. It's what you do. You know what you do. If you were having a conversation with somebody one-to-one, you'd be able to tell them what you did because you do it every day. Then why do you need a piece of paper when you're talking to more than one person? It's the same principle. In many ways, it's easier because you don't have to listen to their replies. You're the only one speaking. Just say what you do, what you're looking for, what you want, what you've done that week, whatever it is you're talking about. Just talk. Don't try to read a script. It won't work. Now, another tip that's important, when you're delivering a presentation to people in a room such as this, don't focus on you. This is the tricky bit. Don't focus on you. I know you're talking about your business and what you do and how you help people or how you provide a product or a service. Yes. And you want them to know that. Yes. But if you talk exclusively about you, nobody cares. Nobody's interested. Nobody wants to hear about you. What they want to hear about is themselves. They want to hear about themselves. So use my industry, for example, web design. That would be the obvious one. It's the one I know best. If I try and talk about somebody else's industry, I might get lost. And anyone listening to this who's in that industry will go, he's forgotten something. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about my industry. Say, for example, I'm a web designer. I would, which I am, funnily enough. I wouldn't stand up and say, at Engage Web, we've been designing websites since 2009. That's 14 years of designing websites. We've built loads and loads of websites. We've got 13 members of staff and we do all of this. And we've got this big building and we can do websites for anything that you want the website for. That's boring. Anybody would say that? No. I would talk about you. So I would say something like, and this is completely made up on the spot now, so this could fall flat, but this is how it works. You know when you've got a website and you've paid a lot of money for your website to be designed and developed and live, and you're getting traffic to your website, but for some reason you're not getting business. You're not getting leads through your website. You're not getting inquiries. Nobody is emailing you. Nobody is phoning you, but you don't know what's wrong. That's the problem with most websites. That's the problem with most people who do digital marketing. They know how to build your website. Some of them even know how to get visitors to your website, but what they don't know is how that website converts for you, how that website turns that traffic into business. And that's what you need. You need a website that doesn't just look pretty, that doesn't just get visitors, that doesn't just make Google Analytics think that you're getting loads of traffic. You need a website that gets you sales, that gets you leads. And that's what we do at Engage Web. We help you become the online authority within your industry. There you go. How's that? That was a 60-second pitch about what we do. But I didn't really use we or Engage Web until right at the very end. It was all about you, what you need, what you've got now. And anybody listening to that thinks, do you know, that's exactly what we've got. That's the position we're in right now. They feel it, they hear it. It's relevant to them, it's about them. That's how it works. Make it about you. Right, what other tips can I give you? Let's talk about slides. Oh, I love slides. But most people haven't got a clue how to use slides. You know, the old PowerPoints. The old PowerPoint where they'll put up a PowerPoint presentation on a screen behind them and it will be full of bullet points or text and it will be the most boring thing you have ever seen in your entire life. And it will start with, here's some photos of my family. Here's some photos of my son, my daughter, my dog, my parrot, the snail we found in the garden. Here's some holidays we've been on. Here's what I did in university. Here's my first job. This is what I did a couple of years ago. This is why I started the business I start now. And you are bored senseless. Because that doesn't work as a presentation style. No. First of all, slides should not contain loads of text. Slides should not contain loads of bullet points if you are just going to turn around and read them. Because if you're reading them out, I guarantee every single person in the room has already read them. They have already read everything that's on your slides. So as you start to read them out, you are just repeating information they already know. And this goes back to what I said earlier about reading out your 60-second presentations. You don't need the text on the slides, you just need one image that is a reminder of what you're going to say. Because if you leave something out, nobody is going to know. Nobody will know. You can say whatever you want and they will not know if you've left something out or completely changed it on the fly. It's just a visual reminder. You know your business. You know who your family are. You know where you've been on holiday. You know why you started the business. It does not need to be written on the screen. Just have a visual reminder and tell the story as though you were telling a story to somebody in the pub. but it's not in the pub, it's in a room full of people. Now, where most go wrong with this as well is that, and if you're listening to this again on iTunes or Spotify or Amazon or something, you're not going to see the visual of this, but when they've got the slides behind them, they will turn around and face the slides and read them out, completely ignoring the audience in front of them. Well, that's not engaging at all. There is no reason, none, zero, nada, zilch, for you to turn around with your back to the audience. You should never do that. Certainly not while you are still talking. Because if you are addressing the audience behind you, you are not engaging with the audience that should be in front of you. If there are people in there who are hard of hearing and they need to lip read you, they cannot lip read you if you're facing the screen. You cannot make eye contact with people if you are facing the wrong way. Yet so many people will give a presentation with their back to the audience facing the screen. I was at a presentation just the other day where somebody had their opening slide up, which was effectively like a large business card with their name, their job title, the phone number, email address, and the company logo. It was just a business card on a slide. And it was on the slide for maybe 3 minutes as they talked about them. And every 8 to 10 seconds, they would turn and look at the slide. Why? It hasn't changed. It's exactly the same as it was 8 seconds ago when you last looked at it. There's no new information on it. Nothing on that slide is relevant to what you were saying. And when they weren't looking at the slide, they were staring off into middle distance, not making eye contact with anybody in the room, as though they didn't know they were even there. It was the least engaging presentation I have ever seen. Yet people do that within business. People do that because they don't know any better. But now you do. You do. You know better. Now that's just a few tips on presenting. There are infinitely many more I could go through, but I want to keep this short because quite frankly, I poured a coffee 15 minutes ago and it's upstairs and it's going cold. So I don't want to get any more than that. So I will go through more tips in a later podcast because as I say, there are many more I can do, more in-depth, more advanced than this, because these are all fairly basic. But these are tips that many people get wrong, that many businesses get wrong when they're making presentations. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you've picked something up from this. And if you think there's anyone you know who has made the kind of mistakes that I've just talked about, then perhaps share this podcast with them. Share the iTunes, the Spotify, or the YouTube video if you're on YouTube now. Share that with them so they can see different ways they can maybe improve their presentations. Because it's not a criticism of what they do. Please realize that. I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm not taking the piss. I'm trying to help people do better so that they will get more results from it. They will get better results. Because if you give better presentations, you will engage people more. That's what Engaging Marketeer is all about. You will engage people more. They will listen to what you were saying. They will understand what you were saying. They will believe in what you're saying, in what you do and how you do it. And you will get more referrals. You will get more leads. You will get more business. You will make more money and you will be more successful. And all you need to do is share this podcast with people who've made the sort of presenting errors that you've heard me talk about today. Thank you.